See the ball bearings? These will kill the rotor and stator. Okay? So you gotta remove all of them. In fact, it might even be already damaged, so you can't run your machine with these in there. Like that. That's the O-ring that holds the shaft on the transmission going in, or the gear case, whatever you want to call it. This machine was leaking, and the customer just kept running it, apparently. You know, she said, oh, I just started doing it. Yeah. Story of my life. Yeah, there's one right there. See that? These are ball bearings. They don't go anywhere. They do damage. So we'll go through this, make sure everything's out. Got to get in between the cracks. And hopefully we can save this, but it's... And of course you can see the water. The next is going to be looking at up here. Sometimes you'll get a bearing. It gets caught between and it rips the stator. So we got to check those as well. We can check those once we get this off. We're going to check for continuity, each pins, and see if it's still good. You can see part of this spletch is damaged. Okay, so, you know, yeah. So this is definitely a transmission job, and maybe a stator and rotor as well. So we're gonna pull this off, 10mm sockets or 13/16, I think, and get this off, and we're gonna pull the transmission. Alright, we're going to be shaking this and moving it around because there's a lot of ball bearings. They're all in here. And if you do this during the repair and you don't shake them, in fact, let me show you something. Alright, so once you get this off, you got to make sure you get all the bearings out, the ball bearings, because they're going to get in here. And if you're not careful, put it back together, pieces fall out, and premature failure. So rotate, okay, this one's pretty good. Sometimes they get caught all down in there and then they come out later. All right. lefty loosey, righty tighty. Air plugs get super loud. Always try and wiggle. Transmission is already loose. So here's a trick, guys. Because we already loosened the transmission, we can technically now get a hammer and just drive this thing straight on out. That's just another method of doing it, because initially what you'd be doing is pulling the drum up, but now we're going to drive it out. So everything will be totally safe. The transmission will fall to the ground at the bottom. Make sure everything's disconnected, and it's totally safe. So I'm going to bang it out. You will need a hammer, not a rubber mallet. Now, you should be totally fine. Transmission is no good, so we're going to bang it out. Maybe 1 or 2 hits, and it should be straight on out. All right. She's out. Drum is freed. I have another video on removing the transmission, but it's a different method. So there are more than one ways of doing this job. That's why I'm including this one as well. You can see the bearings all shattered. Make sure your wires are planted behind here so you don't damage your wires. All right, I'm gonna be dropping a new transmission in. All right, so before you take the top off, just want you guys to know you gotta take off the pressure tube, okay? Got a harness we gotta disconnect down here, and this whole harness will come, got a tab here, push those out. Another here, I'll get it out, and then come on down here, disconnect the harness. And by the way, part of LG's success with their washers, you see that stabilizer? This helps to stabilize the washer from going sideways, and it extends the life of those shocks. So very good design. LG's probably have the best design when it comes to suspension rods and washer bouncing. So when you have a shaking machine on an LG, chances are it's internal. It's not usually the rods, just so you know. All right, let's finish up with this. Make sure you cover this back when you're done. Pull it up. And before you can remove the top, don't forget this. You need to take this guy off as well. And he pops out, it's a tab, and he gets freed. Okay, be gentle here. If you break this, you're in deep trouble. All right, now he's free. He comes off with the top, and we'll disconnect all of these. Pretty straightforward. You can't mess them up. So if you want to mark them, you can, but you really can't put the wrong one. But all right, let's get the top off. You got about 8 or 10 screws around the perimeter. Remove those, and then we'll pull the drum out. Now, if you want to mark this so you know how it goes back on, that's on you. Makes it a lot easier. The mark is right there, and also right there. Give you an idea once you get it off. All right, time to do a little cleaning. Look at all that junk. So you wonder all that stuff where it comes from. And clean your heater area, and more or less not too bad, but it does have some buildup of stuff, and just gotta wipe her out and clean her. All right, we'll do a little touch up afterwards, but that's good for now. Clean this for the seal to go into. Anything that needs to be removed, go ahead and do it while you have it open. Be careful nothing gets in there. That's your pressure tube. Your washer would overflow, give you some bad signals. You do not want to block those passage way. Check your drum for cracks. If there's any damage to the outer tub here, then you got to deal with that now before you put it back together. All right, that looks pretty good for now. Good enough for government work. I'm going to be cleaning this drum as well. Pretty filthy. Look at that. So, look at that. So these drums are just disgusting. Take them apart, you got to clean them. All right. I'm not going to show the process of cleaning. I'm going to spray it down, let it soak, and then hose it down. We're clean, we're ready, and we're going to be putting the transmission in. Get some dish soap, coat the rubber. Now, keep in mind your shift actuator is right here. Your ground screw is there, so your transmission is going to go in very similar. So you're going to rotate it and put it in accordingly, and then drive your screws in. Have your drill, have your screws ready, and let's get it in. Now there's also a pin, like a dowel. All right, she's lined up, strap is there, all the holes that look good. ground screw. Then we're going to put the stator on. And don't forget this guy. 2 screws here. There's your screws. See that dowel? That's your alignment as well. All right, again, double check, make sure these are in good shape. I don't see any damage on the windings, and we look pretty good. That pin hole lines up there. Always make sure it's seated. Don't use the nut, the bolts, to seat it. It should sit nice and even before you start driving them in. Okay. All right, make sure your wires are fully tucked so that they don't get eaten up by the rotor as it rotates. Now, we're gonna go through this again. I'm gonna grab my big magnet and a rag. I'm gonna go through, make sure nothing is damaged. If those are broken, you gotta replace it. You can replace the inner piece. Now, double check that there are no ball bearings lingering around. Otherwise, it's gonna eat that up. All right, clean, a lot cleaner. See that? Nice and smooth already. All right, nut and washer, or washer and nut. All right, let's get inside. All right, let's drop the drum in. Put some Loctite on the big nut. How much to torque? You torque it until it's tight, but don't go crazy. Now, there's a torque spec on it, but I always say if you're using the impact, hit it one time and you're good. It's not going anywhere. No need to damage anything. This is not large enough, but if it was, I would put it on and just give it a couple good whacks, and that's it. All right. Nice and quiet. Now we're gonna do a quick test with the lid off, and everybody, just take a listen. Nice and smooth. All right, let's get the nut in. All right, here's the setup. We're down here, and we're gonna do a quick drain and spin. Make sure everything's nice and tight. There's no water. Now, we're gonna do a water check, 24 hour. Put water in there, make sure we don't have a leak before we put it back together. So we have special use or care. 17, spin only. Start. There we go. Shifter is moving. Drain pump will turn on. Drain pump. that's where the water is, right there. And I'll check back in the morning, make sure we don't have a leak. Actually, let's add some more water. All right, so we are soaking right now, and this will sit for about 24 hours, and I'll pull it back out, and we should not have any leaks. So nice and dry, and we'll see in 24 hours. All right, so far she's done. All we have left to do is to put the top on and call her done. Thanks for watching.